I am happy to introduce Alex Wisniewski, who is one of the stars of February's BTE play Andy Warhol's Tomato. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I have to say, I think that part of the reason you got that part is because you played Andy Warhol for us for an event.
That is,
what was
yes.
the event? The first one, the tickets on sale? Or?
Yeah, I think the first event was...
Oh, it was his birthday, wasn't it?
Andy Warhol's birthday on August 6th of this year was my first event as Andy.
So you were in SpongeBob.
Yes.
And I saw you in SpongeBob, and I was talking to the theater department, and I said, I want an Andy Warhol impersonator. Do we have somebody? And what about the guy who played SpongeBob? And Kim was like, oh, he'd be perfect. and so I'm like, can we get a wig? Can we get that? And so you looked like when you came out, I'm like, he really looks like Andy.
Well, thank you.
That was a little freaky, like how well you look like him.
Yeah, it's so funny. We're the same height and relatively similar builds. And of course, when I was sent like the first picture of him that we would kind of be modeling the look off of, I was like, oh, I can definitely see those similarities.
And it's so wild because SpongeBob was such a bright,
Yes.
vibrant, happy guy, and then Andy is like quiet.
Yeah, very different people, I guess, if you could call them that, characters. But yeah, Andy was such a reserved guy, and in all of the interviews he does, he's so kind of sheltered, and he doesn't let a lot out. And SpongeBob was completely the opposite of that, so personable and wanting to be friends with everybody, and so out there. So it's been a fun little activity.
And now you got cast, and you're a student here at COD
Yes.
as the star of BTE's show, Andy Warhol's Tomato, which is an equity show. Now,
Yes.
are you going to turn equity because of that, or how does that work?
The way equity works, like nowadays, is I need to get a certain amount of credit.
Okay.
So I need to do a certain amount of equity shows in order to go equity. But for Tomato, for Andy Warhol's Tomato, I have the non-equity contract
Okay.
as a student actor, and of course I go here. So it just kind of worked out well that they were looking for a non-equity actor for this part. And I heard about the show, I think the first time right around Andy's birthday. So I've been doing research and planning and reading the script ahead of time and doing as much research as I could.
So tell us about the character in the play, in the world of the play. So tell us a little bit about this, like a little mini synopsis of it.
So this is Andy in a way that not many people know him. It's before the art really came into his life. The show is fictional in nature, but inspired by kind of the life and times of Andy. But it'll take place, we'll see a 19-year-old Andy over the course of a summer filling out an artist's portfolio for summer classes for college. And we'll see him develop a relationship with this bartender, Bones, as he helps him make a sign for his bar. And it really just dives into the relationship a little bit and figures out some of the dynamics of what life was like for Andy, especially in Pittsburgh as a young homosexual man in a time where that was much less than okay.
Well, you know, I was reading the Andy Warhol autobiography because of all the stuff we're doing for the exhibition, and reading, and I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of people say Andy was gay and he didn't come out, this younger generation, this generation now of today, and I'm like, do you understand the world he lived in?
Yeah.
And in Pittsburgh they had the morality police that would go to bars or look around in the gay community to see if and there really wasn't a gay community, but you could go to jail for being gay. So that generation, and we're talking about the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, is not that far away, where it was illegal, right? And they went through a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
If they were found or accused or all of that. So I think it's a good story to tell, right? So people understand what he went through and why he was very reserved about things like that.
Yeah, the script, while taking place, I think it takes place in 1949, is the year.
Before he went to New York.
Yeah, before he went to New York. So that's
As a
70
student.
years ago now. But the message of the story is still very timely, I think. There's a lot that still holds up in today's times, and a lot that I think people can take away from it and enjoy and kind of relate to in a lot of ways.
I think you also have a great privilege in that you're working with Steve Scott, who's
Yes.
a fabulous director.
Yes. We haven't started the rehearsal process yet, so I haven't really gotten to
Meet him?
To meet Steve Scott, but I'm really excited to. At auditions and callbacks, he was great, and it was really exciting to work with him. So I'm very happy to dig a little deeper into that and kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the whole process and getting into everything and meeting everybody.
So we were talking about the gala, and I think Andy Warhol may show up at the gala. Isn't that true?
I do believe that there might be
He's going to be at the
an
party.
Andy Warhol appearance at the party, which is very exciting. I think he'll have a great time.
Andy Warhol is appearing in a lot of things, isn't he?
Yes.
He's gonna be all over.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun that we have you here. We have our own Andy Warhol that's starring in the show, that is a student here, which I love, and you're just so good at it. There's a writer who said Andy Warhol's greatest work of art was himself, that he was the greatest put-on artist, that the media was just dying to talk to him and get this nugget, and he would just say nothing, like, oh,
Yeah.
yes, really? I don't know. But they were just enamored with him, right? Everybody wanted to get him to say something profound, and he wouldn't. And this one critic said, Andy was the great put-on artist. He would put on this persona of totally confused and quiet, and yet he knew everybody. He knew everybody and had lots of friends and went to lots of parties. So it's kind of funny that he had that reputation, but I think in reality he was pretty talkative and normal.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so funny. He's for a long time was one of my favorite painters, and to have this experience of getting to be him and portray him at all of these events is so interesting, because the more and more I learn about him and watch him in interviews or read about him, he's just the strangest little guy, and it's so funny to have to try and emulate that, because it's not quite who I am, but that's the wonderful thing about being an actor and a performer, is you get to step into these unfamiliar places.
And you're awesome at it.
Well, thank you.
You're awesome. I can't wait to see the show. And thank you for everything you're doing to lead up to Warhol. It's been really fun. Thanks for coming on the show, Alex. And for you, be sure to watch Buffalo Theatre Ensemble's Andy Warhol's Tomato, starting February 2nd. For tickets or more information, visit atthemac.org.